Welcome to the Nexus Customs and Legal Podcast. Today we're talking about CBAM, the Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism, and the 12-month gap between the EU regime, which went live in January 2026, and the UK regime, which goes live in January 2027. With me is Magdalena Mikolajczyk, founder of Nexus Customs and Legal Limited. Magdalena, you sat down with a UK policy team in February 2025 and made 3 predictions about how this gap would play out. 14 months on, all 3 are now visible. Walk us through the setup.
Thanks. Let me set this up briefly. CBAM puts a carbon price on imported goods from countries that don't have equivalent carbon pricing. The idea is straightforward. If you produce steel domestically and pay a carbon cost, you shouldn't be undercut by imports from producers who pay nothing. CBAM closes that gap. The EU launched its CBAM on the 1st of January this year, 2026. 6 sectors are currently in scope: iron and steel, cement, aluminium, fertilizers, electricity, and hydrogen. From 2028, scope expands to roughly 180 downstream products. The UK announced its own CBAM with a 1-year delay. UK CBAM goes live on the 1st of January 2027. Same broad principle, similar but not identical scope. So that 12-month gap was the issue I flagged back in February 2025.
So what was your first prediction?
EU CBAM avoidance through UK routing. The logic is simple. From January 2026, importing steel or aluminium directly into the EU carries a carbon cost. Importing the same goods into the UK during the gap year carries no carbon cost at all. So if you can route your goods through the UK during this 12-month window, clear UK customs, do whatever value add or repackaging is needed, and then on trade into the EU, you can potentially avoid the EU carbon levy entirely. 14 months on, it's visible in trade flow data, not in vast volumes yet, but enough to be noticeable, and enough that EU customs authorities have started asking serious questions about origin and processing claims for goods arriving from the UK. The pattern is clearest in steel and aluminium. The UK is being used as a transit point precisely because the gap year creates the arbitrage opportunity. So that's distortion number 1. The UK as a regulatory side door to the EU market.
And the second prediction?
Carbon leakage going the wrong direction. The whole point of CBAM is to prevent carbon leakage. Carbon leakage is when carbon-intensive production migrates from countries with strict carbon pricing to countries with weak or no carbon pricing. CBAM is designed to stop that by pricing carbon at the border so the production location stops mattering for cost. The UK was supposed to be hardening its carbon border at roughly the same time as the EU. Instead, the UK is now the soft entry point precisely when the EU has hardened its own. So in this 12-month window, carbon-intensive goods are flowing into the UK rather than out of it. That's the opposite of what was supposed to happen. The UK has effectively become the carbon leakage destination for 1 year that CBAM was designed to prevent globally, and it's visible now in actual trade flow patterns over the last 5 months.
And the third?
Sector-specific contract chaos. Most commercial supply contracts for steel, cement, aluminium, fertilizers, and the other in-scope products were drafted in 2023 and 2024. That was before either CBAM regime was finalized. So when EU CBAM went live in January, suddenly there were live contracts where neither buyer nor seller had explicitly allocated who absorbs the CBAM cost. That cost can be material, currently estimated at 70 to 100 euros per ton of carbon dioxide. For a steel importer of any scale, that's 6-figure exposure annually. I'm now seeing pre-2025 contracts being reopened across multiple sectors. Some operators are absorbing the cost in margin, Some are passing through to customers. Some are heading toward formal disputes. The recent UK steel safeguard tariff sits in exactly the same pattern. Misaligned policy timing, contracts written before the rules, operators left arguing about who pays. If you have live supply contracts for any CBAM scope product, you need to look at your change of law clauses now, not after a dispute. Now.
So what should UK importers be doing this quarter?
3 concrete things. 1. Run a CBAM scope assessment. We have a free tool on the Nexus website that does this in about 90 seconds. It tells you whether your goods are in scope and whether you have UK or EU exposure or both. 2. Start the supplier emissions data conversation now. Don't wait for 2027. Suppliers with verified low carbon intensity will cost you less under CBAM. The ones who started early are quietly winning the better terms. 3. Audit your contracts. Look at change of law clauses, Incoterms, and cost allocation provisions on every CBAM relevant contract you have running.
Magdalena, thank you. 3 resources from Nexus, all free or low cost. The CBAM Scope Checker, free on the Nexus Customs and Legal website. The CBAM Compliance Course in the Nexus Academy, £129, covering everything we discussed today in much more depth. And the monthly Nexus Compliance Digest, a free email newsletter, 6 sectors of regulatory updates, delivered to your inbox once a month, all linked in the show notes. Thanks for listening.